Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Martell here. Let me tell you something I wish someone had told me when I started my first company. Business has levels, just like a video game. And if you don't level up, you stay stuck, grinding, struggling, burning out while the game keeps getting harder. See, most entrepreneurs think business is just about selling more. They think if they hustle harder, put in longer hours, grind every day, things will magically get better. Every business, no matter the industry or size, follows a pattern. It's not always obvious when you're in the middle of the grind, but the truth is there are predictable stages that every company passes through as it grows. You can fight it, ignore it, or pretend your situation is unique, but the levels are real and they come whether you're ready or not. The sooner you understand the game you're in, the faster you can move through the levels without stalling out or burning out. At the start, it's just you. Maybe you've got a co-founder, maybe a contractor or two, but the business lives and dies on your ability to execute. You do the selling. You answer every email, you're building the product, talking to customers, writing the content, managing the books, all of it. And in this stage, it's normal. You're figuring things out. You're testing offers, trying to find product market fit, chasing early revenue. Everything feels urgent, and speed matters more than perfection. The problems are all about survival. How do I pay the bills? How do I get my next client? How do I prove this thing works? But if you make it through that phase, you grow, you start getting consistent sales, maybe you hire a couple people, and now you're managing. But here's where the predictable nature of business level starts to show up. Your problems shift. You're no longer worried about whether there's interest. Now you're focused on delivery. You're trying to keep clients happy, deliver quality work, and manage your small but growing team. Communication gets more complex, mistakes happen, and your old habits, like doing everything yourself, start to become liabilities. What worked at the beginning is now slowing you down. That's the first sign you've reached a new level. And unless you shift how you operate, you'll get stuck. This is where many entrepreneurs burn out. They feel overwhelmed, overworked, and underpaid. They say yes to every opportunity, micromanage their team, and try to solve new problems with old thinking. But you can't fix level 2 problems with level 1 tools. You have to level up yourself, your thinking, your structure, your leadership, or your business will hit a ceiling. Keep growing and things change again. You now have a full team, maybe middle managers, maybe a real org chart. You've got clients or customers coming in consistently, and you can no longer keep everything in your head. The game becomes one of systems, communication, and vision. You're designing a company, not just running one. You're thinking ahead, you're looking at metrics, you're forecasting, you're aligning your team with clear goals. This stage requires a different you, one who leads, delegates, and builds culture. If you try to stay hands-on, you'll smother the business. It'll grow in spite of you, or worse, collapse under the weight of your control. The final level, and few get here, is where the business becomes self-sustaining. It runs without you. In the day-to-day, you've built a leadership team, you got dashboards, you're no longer managing tasks, you're guiding strategy. You might step out entirely, take sabbaticals, sell the company, invest in others. Now you're truly an owner. You've created something that lives beyond your energy. But again, this level doesn't just show up. You grow into it by mastering the previous stages. The reason this progression is so powerful is because it gives you a roadmap. When things go sideways, when problems pile up, you don't need to panic. You just need to ask, what level am I at? And what does this level require from me? If you're doing founder level work when you should be leading a team, that's a mismatch. If you're hiring too fast without solving delivery issues, you'll collapse under churn. Every level has its own set of challenges, and when you know what to expect, you can face them with confidence. Entrepreneurs often make the mistake of thinking their problems are unique. They're not. They're just new to you. Someone else has already solved them. And when you understand that business is a series of levels with predictable patterns, you stop reacting and start anticipating. You stop throwing time at problems and start building systems. You stop spinning in the weeds and start climbing. That's the power of seeing your business through the lens of levels. It gives you perspective, it gives you clarity, and it gives you the permission to grow into the leader your business needs you to become. When you start a business, it's natural to think like an operator. You're the engine that keeps everything moving. You sell the product, deliver the service, fix the bugs, write the emails, handle the money, and sometimes even take out the trash. That's the job. And in the beginning, it's necessary. You're wearing all the hats because there's nobody else. You have to be in the weeds. You have to know the detail. You're building something from nothing and it takes your full energy, attention, and control. But what happens over time is that many founders stay in that mindset far too long. They build a business, but they keep thinking like an operator. And that's exactly what keeps them stuck. The operator mindset is built around doing. It says, if I don't do it, it won't get done. It's all about control, perfection, and effort. The owner mindset, on the other hand, is built around outcomes. It says, how can I build a machine that gets this done without me? That shift from doer to designer, from worker to builder, is what separates those who stay stuck in the trenches for years from those who scale and succeed. When you think like an operator, your focus is on task. You measure progress by how many things you've crossed off your to-do list. Your calendar is full of meetings, calls, check-ins, and last-minute problems. You pride yourself on being busy, on grinding it out, on being the hardest worker in the room. You're reactive. You move from one fire to the next. And even though it feels productive, it's actually a trap. Because being busy doesn't mean you're building a better business. In fact, it often means the opposite. When you think like an owner, you focus on systems. You're not asking, what do I need to do today? You're asking, what's broken in the machine? You design workflows, delegate responsibility, install processes, and track performance. You lead through leverage, not labor. Your value doesn't come from your hours, it comes from your decisions. You build clarity, culture, and communication. You create space to think. That space is where real business growth happens. The problem is most entrepreneurs never make that transition. Why? Because the operator mindset is familiar. It feels safe. It gives them control. Letting go feels risky. Delegating feels like weakness. Slowing down to design systems feels like wasting time. So they keep grinding. They keep solving problems manually. They keep answering every email themselves. And eventually they burn out. The business stops growing, or worse, it grows into something they resent. They feel trapped by the very thing they created. You can always tell when someone is stuck in the operator mindset. They say things like, I can't find good people, or nobody can do it like I can, or it's just faster if I do it myself. That's the language of someone who's trying to scale with hustle instead of leadership. It's understandable. Most of us start businesses because we're good at something. We're designers, coders, marketers, coaches, consultants, creatives. We're craftsmen. We fall in love with the work. But as the business grows, the work changes. And if we don't change with it, we become the bottleneck. The irony is, thinking like an operator will eventually kill your ability to operate. You'll be stretched too thin. You'll make mistakes. You'll miss opportunities. You'll burn relationships, clients, and eventually your passion. But when you make the shift to owner thinking, everything changes. You begin to realize your job is not to do the work, it's to design the business. Your responsibility is not execution, it's vision, culture, hiring, capital, and structure. You build a team, create an environment, and give them the tools to succeed. You don't do the work, you build the system that does the work. That mindset shift doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you get lazy or detached. It means you grow up as a founder. It means you accept that your highest value is not your hustle. It's your leadership. The best CEOs aren't the busiest ones. They're the clearest ones. They know what matters. They know what they're building. They empower their team. They say no to the wrong things and yes to the right ones. And most importantly, they create margin in their life to think clearly and lead powerfully. If you're constantly overwhelmed, working nights and weekends, drowning in tasks, and afraid to take a day off, that's not a sign that you're committed. It's a sign that something's broken. And fixing it starts with your mindset. You have to be willing to let go of control. You have to be willing to slow down to speed up. You have to replace yourself system by system, one process at a time. Because the only way to scale is to stop doing everything yourself. The truth is, if you want a high performing business, you have to become a high level owner. You have to rise above the day to day and lead from the top. That doesn't mean you're better than the work. It means your job is different now. And when you embrace that role fully, the business stops depending on your time and starts growing from your leadership. Scaling a business isn't just about doing more of what already works. That's a common misconception. It's not about more ads, more hires, more hustle. It's about transformation. At each level of growth, your business demands a different way of thinking, a different set of capabilities, and a different structure to support it. What worked when you had 10 clients will break when you have 100. The way you managed a team of 3 will collapse under a team of 30. The mindset that helped you hit your first $100 0 cents K will sabotage your path to $10 million 0 cents if you don't evolve. Scaling is a constant process of reinvention. At every stage, new problems appear, but more importantly, old habits stop working. It's not just that the challenges get bigger, it's that the game fundamentally changes. Early on, it's about scrappiness and speed. You do things manually. You move fast, test ideas, talk to customers, wear every hat. The mindset here is survival. The skill is execution. The system is you. And that's okay, because that's what it takes to get out of the gate. You're building traction with limited resources, and your agility is your advantage. But as soon as you start to grow, things shift. You can't be everywhere at once. You can't answer every email or fix every issue. You need help. So you hire a team. That's when you realize that managing people is a different skill entirely. It's no longer just about doing. Now it's about leading, communicating, setting expectations, and creating clarity. If your mindset stays locked in doer mode, you'll overwhelm yourself and confuse your team. You'll micromanage, you'll fix problems instead of teaching people how to solve them. You'll accidentally become the bottleneck. This is where many founders get stuck. They think scaling is about hiring more people to do more of what they were already doing. But if you don't evolve the way you think and lead, all you're doing is multiplying chaos. A growing team without structure is a recipe for stress. So the next level of scale requires a shift in mindset, from control to trust, from doing to designing, from being the hero to building a team of heroes. You have to start thinking in systems. You have to zoom out and build repeatable processes. You have to step into real leadership. That leadership comes with new skills: hiring well, creating accountability, building culture, coaching your team, setting goals, managing cash, reading data. These aren't optional, they're required. You can't scale on instinct alone. You have to get good at building systems that don't break under pressure. Your business becomes a machine and you become the architect. With each level, the business requires more structure, not in a rigid corporate way, but in a way that creates clarity and speed. You need clear roles, clear KPIs, and clear outcomes. You need meetings that have a purpose. You need dashboards to track performance. You need onboarding that trains your people without you being in the room. These systems free you. They create leverage. They allow your business to grow without consuming your life. The mindset keeps evolving too. Early on, it's how can I get this done today? Later, it becomes who's the right person to own this? Then eventually, how do I build a company that solves this at scale? It's a constant evolution, and every level demands a new you. The founder who gets the business off the ground is not the same person who can lead it through $1 0 cents M, or $10 0 cents M, or $100 0 cents M. That person has to grow, shed old ways of thinking, and embrace new responsibilities. What most people don't realize is that each level of growth comes with friction, not just in operations, but internally. Scaling a business is emotional. It requires letting go. It challenges your identity. It forces you to confront your own limitations. You start asking questions like, what's my highest value now? Or am I the right person to lead this next chapter? Those questions don't mean you're failing. They mean you're growing. They mean you're on the path. At each level, you'll need to let go of something. control, comfort, old habits, even parts of your role. And at each level, you'll need to embrace something new: structure, clarity, leadership, and trust. The business will keep evolving, and the only question is whether you'll evolve with it. That's the real work of scaling, not just growing revenue, but growing yourself, your team, and your systems in alignment. Because if you don't, the business will outgrow you or it will stop growing altogether. Most entrepreneurs start their journey with a bias toward action. You have a vision, an idea, a skill, and you bring it to life by doing. You build the product, take care of the customers, create the marketing, and keep everything moving through sheer effort. In the beginning, that's your only option. There's no team, no budget for systems, and no playbook. It's just you, maybe a partner or a contractor, working long days and late nights, doing everything it takes to survive. At that stage, doing is critical. Execution is everything. If you don't move, nothing moves. But somewhere along the way, that approach stops being effective. The more you do, the more dependent the business becomes on you. The business doesn't grow. It just gets heavier. More sales mean more customer issues. More marketing means more fulfillment. More projects mean more pressure. Every new win creates more demand for your time. And if you stay stuck in that doer mindset, you'll eventually run out of capacity. You hit a wall. And it won't matter how hard you work. You can't out-hustle a broken model. That's the inflection point. The moment when real growth starts to require a different kind of effort. Instead of doing the work, you need to start designing the machine that does the work. You need to shift from being the engine to being the architect. This is where the breakthrough happens. It's not about working harder, it's about thinking differently. Designing means building systems. It means creating processes that run without you. It means taking your best knowledge, your experience, your judgment, and transferring it into a repeatable, teachable format that others can follow. It's about extracting what's in your head and embedding it into the business. If a task happens more than once, it should live in a documented system. If a decision is repeated, there should be a framework. If a result matters, there should be a dashboard. That's what designing looks like. Designing also means thinking in outcomes, not just actions. Instead of asking, how can I get this done? You ask, what system or person needs to be in place so this always gets done the right way? It has a totally different mindset. It forces you to zoom out. It forces you to think about scale. It forces you to replace yourself, not just in the tasks you do, but in the decisions you make. When you start thinking this way, the entire business begins to shift. You stop solving problems by throwing your time at them. Instead, you look for root causes. You build preventative systems, you coach your team, you stop reacting and start leading. When something breaks, you don't fix it and move on. You redesign the process so it doesn't break again. That's what makes the business stronger. That's what creates momentum. The truth is, most businesses don't fail because they lack effort. They fail because they lack structure. Founders are working 80 hours a week doing $10.00/hour tasks. They're in every meeting, they're answering every question, they're approving every decision. They feel important, but they're actually trapped because the business is only as strong as their ability to keep doing. The moment they stop, everything slows down. That's not a business, that's a job, and it's a job with no freedom. The breakthrough comes when you realize that designing systems is not a luxury, it's the path to freedom, scale, and sustainability. It's not about stepping back from the business, it's about stepping up into the role you're meant to play. Your real value isn't in being the best at everything, it's in building something that works whether you're in the room or not. That's how you create leverage. That's how you grow without burning out. That's how you build something that lasts. It's not always easy to make this shift. It requires discipline. It requires you to slow down and think. It forces you to let go of control and trust other people. It means spending time on things that don't give you an immediate dopamine hit, like writing SOPs, setting up dashboards, or documenting workflows. But those are the exact things that free you from the chaos. They create consistency, speed, and predictability. They allow your team to move without you. They build the foundation for real growth. The moment you stop asking, how can I do this better, and start asking, how can I design this so I never have to do it again? That's when everything changes. You start seeing the business as a product in itself. You start optimizing for flow, not force. You start building for the future instead of reacting to the present. And that's when you unlock scale, not by working more, but by working differently. When you start designing instead of doing, you move from being a technician to a true founder. You shift from being the glue that holds the business together to being the leader who builds a company that runs like a machine. That's where the freedom comes from. That's where the impact comes from. That's the real breakthrough. And it only happens when you're willing to stop doing and start designing.